well. For those who don't know me, it's Ben from My Cycling Coach, where we have now helped over 500 cyclists achieve 3 watts per kilo and beyond with their fitness, health, power, weight. I make these videos as I've been doing this now for the past 10 to 15 years, both my own training, what I've learned from that, but also my own studies, research, the practical application and the coaching that I've been doing over that period. And yet, if I can fast track you to your goals without having to take 10 to 15 years to get there, then I've done my job with making these videos. This week's topic then is actually a section of a training that I did last week all around FTP tests. The specific segment for this video today is fueling FTP tests. Hopefully some really useful information that if you are, we spoke a little bit about the importance of regular testing to ensure that your training zones are accurate where they need to be to maximize what you're getting from your training. And this is a really hopefully useful video today which will help you improve your certainly pre-ride and during ride fueling for FTP tests so you can maximize your performance. Apologies, the audio, we had a few troubles with the audio last week, but you should still be able to understand what I'm saying. Enjoy.
The most important thing when doing an FTP test, I want you to think of a car now. You can think of a Formula 1 car, racing car, any car, okay? If we're going to test that car and we're going to push it to the limit, the first thing we need to do is ensure that that car is fueled. Okay, there's sort of right fueling it to actually be able to perform the test. And in a lot of cases, we can see that actually riders will significantly underfuel an FTP test, or what is required to do that. Now, we obviously discussed this a lot with your training sessions, but also with the FTP test. But I want to just break down some numbers for you this evening on actually the amounts that you do really need to be trying to target and hit to be able to sufficiently fuel an FTP test. Okay, so guidance I always give for your high intensity training sessions, but certainly an FTP test. You have to be within 1 to 1.5 grams of carbohydrate per kg of body weight as a minimum total within 12 hours of going to do your FTP test. You have to be within this amount. This 1 gram per kg is an absolute minimum. Okay? So take your body weight now, what you weigh, and that is the amount of grams. So if you weigh, just as an example, 80 kilos, okay, you have to be consuming a minimum of 80 grams of carbohydrate within 12 hours of starting the test, okay? In which case, let's just say if you're doing this in the day and you can fuel during the day to go and do a test, either later in the morning or later in the afternoon, it's a lot easier to do that. Obviously, if you're doing an FTP test first thing in the morning and you're having to split this with the evening prior, it becomes a little bit more tricky. So if you can, try to do your FTP test either in the morning where you can wake up and have a normal breakfast and actually consume as part of your breakfast. You may have, 60 grams of carbs as part of your breakfast, and then let's just say you've done that at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're planning on doing the FTP test at maybe 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. That means that, okay, I'm going to have that for my breakfast at 7, 8 o'clock. Before I get on the bike, an hour before, you may top up with 20 grams of carbohydrates, and to do this, you can do it in a gel format, you can do it in liquid carbohydrates, you can do it in whatever works best for you. Okay? But this is an absolute minimum. If anything, I would really try to actually get as close to the 1.5. Okay? So really, we're looking at 120 grams of carbohydrates for an 80 kg rider leading into an FTP test. Okay? This is absolutely crucial. Work out this number, calculate this number before you go to do your next FTP test, and really try to look at the back of the packet of the carbohydrates that you're having, whether this is granola, whether it's rice, whether it's pasta, weigh it out, work it out, and actually see, are you hitting this 1 to 1.5 grams of carbs prior to doing the ride? And if you're not, then this could be why when you get to minute 12 or minute 15 that you're just feeling like the legs are completely gone, because you haven't got enough carbohydrate. As I mentioned earlier, with that anaerobic threshold, okay, when we're at the anaerobic threshold, the primary fuel source to fuel anaerobic energy system is carbohydrates. Okay, fats aren't going to help you here now. Okay, nothing else is going to help you. It's carbohydrates, glycogen, sugar. 100% what is needed to sustain your FTP or your functional threshold power. has to have the carbohydrates in there. You have to hit these amounts. Okay, 1 to 1.5 grams. This is absolute must. Where you do that in the day, just align with the test. As I say, it's really quite hard. If you're somebody who has to train at 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe just when you go to do your FTP test for that 1 weekday or weekend, try to just perform it a little bit better. Try to perform it a bit later in the day, because that's then a lot easier for you to actually obviously fuel with this, time it through the day to ensure that you can get these amounts in. Okay? So, pre-ride. That's pre-ride fuel. Specific to your body weight and the amounts that you want to target. Now this is an interesting part that we're coming on to next. So numbers. Looking at all of your data, myself and Dean, we've done some stats crunching this week and we've looked at the data. So, we're going to use a 20-minute protocol just to start off with. For a 20-minute sustained FTP test, you guys burn, generally on average, around 300 calories during a 20-minute test. Okay? Now this is plus or minus what we've seen, 50 calories. Some are doing 350, some are doing 250. This will depend on your body weight, also males and females, but generally 300 is we've seen as the average. Just the 20-minute effort. That doesn't include the warm-up, that doesn't include the cool-down, that doesn't include how long your warm-up is. Okay, this is just minute 1 to 20 of a 20-minute sustained effort. Okay, now what's really interesting with this is if we look at 300 calories. When we say that we're doing the 20-minute effort, you're burning predominantly carbohydrates. Now within 300 calories, if we're just working off of carbohydrates, that means 300 calories is equivalent to 75 grams of carbohydrates. Okay, I'll run the calculation quickly again. So if we take 300 and divide it by 4, okay, we get 75 grams of carbohydrates. Now, just go back to what I was saying earlier. If you're somebody who weighs 80 kg and you've stored 80 grams of carbohydrates, within the effort you've nearly burned. So if you're at the higher end, generally males maybe a little bit more, you may even find that if you're doing 350, you're actually at 87.5 grams of carbohydrates that you require to perform a 20-minute sustained FTP effort. So effectively, if you're at 1 gram of carbohydrate per kg of body weight, pre-ride, that's 80 grams of carbs in our 80 kg rider. That actually isn't enough, because if you're burning 350 calories, that isn't enough. You're going to need 87.5. So if you've even been under the 1 gram of carbohydrate per kg of body weight, you've insufficiently fueled, because you're going to need 87.5 grams of carbohydrate to perform a 20-minute sustained effort based on 300 calories that you burn. Okay? So if we also then just look at this, we'll take the, let's just take 80 grams, okay, as an average, that you will need for that effort. That means that 10 minutes into the test, and this is where we get to during ride fueling, if you're burning 80 grams of carbohydrate during a test, that means that after 10 minutes of doing that test, you've already burnt through 40 grams of carbs. Okay? And just remember, guys, this doesn't include your warm-up. Okay? This is just the test. So you've probably even burnt through, if you're doing a warm-up for 20 minutes to 30 minutes, given you're not going to be riding at threshold during the warm-up, you've probably already burnt another 150 to 200 calories. You've already tapped into this already. Okay? So this is where we then get into during ride fueling. So because a lot of things, you guys are doing a good job with your pre-ride fueling, but then the during ride fueling, you're not actually sipping on carbs with your fluid during the effort. And I know it's hard to do that when you're doing an FTP test, but you just have your bottle there, and you can literally just sip on it now and again, just to keep a constant flow coming in. And the reason for this is that after 10 minutes, you've already used 40 grams of your pre-ride fuel. Okay? So during the test, it's really important you continue to top that up and keep a constant flow of carbs, given those carbs will need to be more sugary based day so that they can be absorbed quick enough so you can actually utilise them. Yeah? Okay, but I would generally say during the test, if you can consume, if you can get in your bidon, a 500 millilitre bidon, 750 millilitre bidon, 40 to 60 grams of carbs in your bidon, and you can sit on that as you're going through the effort, and do that like from as soon as you start the test or prior to starting the test, that means that by the time you get to the halfway point, you're actually continuing to top them up. Because again, this is the issue where some of you guys are getting to minute 12 or minute 15 and you're just feeling like you've got nothing left. And that's because you've done the warm-up, you've done half of the test, and you're 80 grams, obviously this will be specific to your body weight, but what you've actually filled with, you've already used this, it's gone. And then you have no energy left towards the end of the 5 minutes when you really need it to then push and kick on and actually elevate your power, but you haven't got the energy to do it. Okay? Yeah, so really, I think it's really interesting looking at the calories that we're expending during the FTP test, working out, okay, yeah, we're riding at the anaerobic threshold, that's where the predominant fuel source is coming from carbohydrates. We're then actually looking at, if we break this down, minimum, if you're doing 300 calories on the 20 minutes sustained effort, that's 75 grams of carbohydrates. And you can work out that specific to your body weight and then actually work out back from that to see if you've been fueling enough to fuel for your effort. If you're finding this useful, guys, drop a like on the video. I hope everyone...
If you made it this far, I hope you found that useful. Hopefully some information in there you'll be able to take straight out, certainly around those specific amounts to body weight and things that you can take and implement straight into your own fueling during FTP test. But a lot of the amounts that I was also referring to there you can use for threshold VO2 max interval training sessions. They'll really help you just ensure that you're going into those key workouts, rides, tests with the energy you need to maximise your performance and get the most from your training sessions. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please, subscribe if you found it useful. We're going to keep putting out as much content as we possibly can to help you. And if you're on the channel for a while or you've just watching this video and you have found it useful, then please drop a like. It really does help the channel. Have a great rest of your day. Speak to you soon.